Hello everyone, welcome to Daily News Pulse of 2nd June 2026, in which we are going to cover important news from the Hindu newspaper. So first news that came up had been year-long events to mark 75th anniversary of Kagodu Satyagraha. So about the Satyagraha, what the news points out first is 75th anniversary of Kagodu Satyagraha. This was considered to be the first peasant movement in independent India. Okay, and it happened in 1951. So what precisely happened in that in 1951? The Satyagraha, there was major reasons or causes for this was unequal crop sharing arrangement, which was unilaterally imposed by the landlords. And secondly, apart from that, for the crop sharing or sharing of the produce, the measurement which was there for that, the container which was used, that was now called as kolaga. So that is again where the dispute was there. But the underlying cause or the reason, if you see, okay, had been the rights of land tillers over the land that they were tilling. Now, this was pre-land reform period in India, 1951 we are talking about. So the important information that we see over here, in March 1951, tenant farmers of Kagodu village in Sagar Taluk revolted against landlords over a dispute regarding the size of kolaga. What is kolaga? A container used to measure and divide agricultural produce. Dissatisfaction with the landlords, unilateral changes to the terms of yield sharing, the tenants refused to comply. So that is what led to this satyagraha. And with respect to this now, if we see the important information, H. Ganpatiyappa, a school teacher who played a central role in organizing the movement, is remembered as one of the key architects of this satyagraha. So the news article deals with only this much. Now, if we see the details of this, the first one about this satyagraha, it have occurred in 1951, and it has been hailed as the first peasant movement. So first peasant movement in independent India. Independent India. And about this village, if we see, so Kagodu village, this is in Shivamoga district of Karnataka. This is the basic information. Now, what was this revolt against basically? So revolt against the causes of this, okay, had been majorly the unequal crop sharing or yield sharing arrangement, which was unilaterally imposed by the landlords over here, okay, along with over a container, which was kolaga. Kolaga, the measuring container. So in this context, what we have to relate it to is the land reforms in India in the post-independence period. And overall 1951, this satyagraha happened. Eventually 1961, when we see, okay, we will not say immediate impact of this revolt, but eventually in 1961, Karnataka Land Reforms Act was passed. Land Reforms Act was passed. And under this, what was done has been the tenancy reforms. Along with that, ownership rights were given to cultivators, so ownership rights to cultivators. And in addition to that, Land Sealing Act. So sealing on land holding was undertaken. So eventually, with respect to this news, what we see is, although we cannot say a direct impact, a direct result of this Satyagraha was the land reforms, but yes, of course, it laid the foundation for land reforms in the Karnataka state. So 1951, exactly a decade later, in 1961, Karnataka Land Reforms Act were passed. So this is with respect to history and post-independence land reforms in India, one idea. And as it is 75th anniversary, it becomes important for our paper. Going beyond this now, the second news that we see had been the editorial. And this editorial basically deals with IMEC. IMEC caught between commerce and geopolitics. Now, what this editorial first of all deals with is the conundrum with respect to the transport and connectivity, which is now caught in the midst of geopolitical tensions. So these geopolitical tensions, as we understand, eventually are going to remain. All the geopolitical tensions are not going to suddenly disappear, but it should not be impacting too much of the transport and connectivity aspect. And this becomes extremely important in the backdrop of what is happening right now at the Strait of Hormuz. So at the Strait of Hormuz now, given the Iranian conflict which is taking place, the Strait of Hormuz has been blocked and its effect has been felt worldwide. And that's what this article is dealing with. So overall, first let's talk about what has been said in the article and then we'll analyze it. So what the article says is the ongoing war in Iran has shattered many myths and brought to light realities that expose the structural vulnerability of the existing world order. And what is this we are talking about are the lessons. If you see the overall idea, apart from the geopolitical aspect, how the fights have been going on and all, is the reality check underscored by this war is the critical importance of global choke points and how their blockade can severely disrupt the global economy. So these global choke points are the major choke points in the transportation and connectivity. That's what the article is dealing with. So Iran, by imposing a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz early in the conflict, has virtually brought the global economy to its knees. And now it says nearly to 20 million barrels of crude oil, which is crude oil, accounting for about a third of global oil supplies, pass through this narrow sea passage every day, which is the Strait of Hormuz. So through Strait of Hormuz now almost 1/3 of global oil supplies pass. And therefore, when Iran has blocked the Strait of Hormuz, put a blockade on a Strait of Hormuz, it has directly impacted the global prices of crude oil, impacting the economy worldwide. So it continues that India is among the countries most affected. Why? As India imports nearly 88% of its crude oil requirement. So that's one thing. So what it says there is an urgent need to explore and develop alternative connectivity options beyond existing trade routes. And these routes and corridors should be avoiding two C's. What are those? Conflict zones and choke points. Now, based on this, let's analyze what the whole of the situation in the present time is. So if we see in the present time, the projects that we have been pursuing, connectivity projects, have been one, International North-South Transport Corridor, that is the one. And second, the initiative of China, that is Belt and Road Initiative. So first dealing with the International North-South Corridor. So International North-South Corridor, what the article tells us, INSTC was designed to bypass the Suez Canal choke point. That's first point. First C, that is choke point. While the overland component of BRI across Asia and Europe seeks to reduce dependence on both the Malacca Strait and Suez Canal. Again, choke points. Another major connectivity project is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. So now these are the three projects in discussion over here, out of which China's BRI project is one. But concerning India, we have one project, that is International North-South Transport Corridor. So International North-South Transport Corridor, this is basically a multimodal project. What do we mean by multimodal project? Multimodal project is where multiple modes of connectivity and transportation are involved. Say, for example, in one given project itself, there is a component of sea route connectivity, land connectivity, train connectivity, and so on. So they are called as multimodal project. Now, International North-South Transportation Corridor basically connects India with Russia through Iran and Azerbaijan. So Iran, Azerbaijan, Russia. And so multimodal project where India would be connecting to Iran via sea route through the ports, let's say, for example, in the Strait of Hormuz itself, Bandar Abbas port. And then from there, moving through over the land across Azerbaijan and connecting it to Russia. Now this India, Iran, Azerbaijan, Russia, this project, connectivity project, becomes very important from Indian perspective. Why? First of all, it provides us access to Central Asia in the middle. And going beyond that, connectivity, direct connectivity to Western Russia. Now, mind it, Western Russia has huge reserves of crude oil. And so India, looking to diversify its crude oil imports, this project becomes very important. Along with that, Central Asia, where we have uranium reserves in Kazakhstan. So again, these connectivities are vital for India. And secondly, apart from that, this definitely provides an alternative to Suez Canal. So this has been one project. But with respect to INSTC, we can understand now the ongoing issues, the conflict in Iran. So it becomes a conflict zone right now. And therefore, this project would be right now on the back burner. Second project now we are talking about is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Now, this is where, if we first, let's check through the article and then we'll move forward. Would be the IMEC framework. When we talk about the IMEC, is a transformative and ambitious connectivity initiative that was officially announced at G20 summit in New Delhi in September 2023. So 2023, this was announced in India only. And what it do is it seeks to connect India with Europe across Arabian Peninsula, again bypassing Suez Canal. So over here, what precisely is this? Again, it is a multimodal project. So multimodal economic corridor, integrating railway, ports, highways, energy networks, digital infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So over here, the whole project has three distinct sections. What are the sections? First, the eastern section, which is there. This is where India would be linked to UAE. So this would be C-link, India connectivity with UAE. So India to UAE is one first section. Then central section comes up, which is the land route across West Asia, traversing UAE, Saudi, Jordan, Israel. And reaching up to Israel, it would end at the port of Haifa. which is the Mediterranean seaport of Israel. So this is C. After that, UAE. From UAE, Saudi to Jordan, and Jordan to Israel, which would be the Haifa port. That is the second part or second leg of the connectivity project. And the third leg, which is their western leg, is sea-based again, connecting Haifa to European ports. So Haifa to European ports, and this would be sea, whereas this would be land. So sea, land, sea. And from once Europe is connected, okay, after that, Europe's uh, intracontinental connectivity routes will take over. So this is a project again to bypass Suez Canal choke point, which is there. Now what has happened is, of course, 2023. Now, if we see, this project was announced, and in the late 2023 itself, the Gaza war broke out. So that's where the project again was put on a back burner. Okay, but later, of course, now after in 2025, when the war was considered to be over, okay, there have been efforts to take up the project again. But now over here, what are the challenges with respect to this particular project? This is the IMEC. So IMEC project, what are the challenges? Challenges are twofold mainly. First, if you see over here, UAE 1, okay, and so UAE over here and Saudi, which is there. Now with UAE and Saudi, recently there has been divergences. The divergences of UAE and Saudi, which we see, the first one had been where UAE announced a withdrawal from OPEC. So what we see is the positions adopted by Saudi and UAE. So first thing, UAE in 2026 announced that it was opting out of the global oil grouping, that is OPEC, and reports of its growing strategic coordination with Israel. So on one hand, now you have Israel and Saudi, which are at opposite poles. But over here now, reportedly, UAE helping or supporting Israel. That has created a conflict situation between UAE and Saudi. And we can see that without the coordination between, effective coordination between UAE and Saudi, this project would not be possible. So that is one big major challenge over here. Secondly, apart from that, of course, the Iranian conflict has created instability in the West Asian region, which is a major component over here, including UAE, Saudi, Jordan, Israel. Okay, this whole West Asian part, this becomes a major component of this particular project. So now when we talk about navigating the challenges, what's first? First is about the conflict zone when we are talking about. So we have earlier said bypass the conflict zones, and so bypass conflict zones and choke points. So when we check this conflict zone, the problem is over here, the Saudi, which is there. So on Saudi, there has been attacks and all. And therefore, there can be found or opted new routes which can bypass these. So bypassing these, the first one option that is explored over here is to develop key ports in Oman. Ab Oman mein now we see these Salalah port, Duqm port or Muscat. These are the ports which are actually away right now from Strait of Hormuz. So these ports away from Strait of Hormuz, this can bypass the conflict zone and provide access to West Asia. So that is one such aspect that we can find. Secondly, Haifa in Israel, the Mediterranean port of Israel. Now this again becomes a conflict zone. So what can be done is a bypass route can be found through Egypt. Egypt also has its Mediterranean ports, and so the option would be almost similar. So now the whole idea is, if we talk about this connectivity, India to UAE, okay, and UAE's ports are constantly under attack of Iran. So rather than this, okay, what we can opt is India connectivity with Oman ports. From Oman ports, now we can look towards connectivity to Egypt, and Egypt can provide the access to Mediterranean Sea. From where it would remain the same, that would be the third leg, across through Mediterranean Sea, connectivity to European ports. So that is one, that is avoiding the conflict zone. So avoiding the conflict zone, that's one part. Second part, of course, now choke point, anyways, we are saying that the choke points has to be avoided, Strait of Hormuz, away from Strait of Hormuz, Suez Canal, and so on. The second is the diplomatic challenge. Over here, the article suggests the role of India. India, which enjoys close relation and trust of both Saudi and UAE, will have to navigate a delicate but critical diplomatic terrain. So India, as well as European countries like Italy and France, okay, they can play a role in brokering deal and peace between Saudi and UAE with respect to this project. Not overall we are talking about, okay, their stance with respect to the war and all. They have their own opinion and stance, but at least with respect to this particular project, these countries can strive to strike a deal. So IMEC right now is considered to be very, very important project, and the article identifies, okay, with respect to Italy. So very recently now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Italy, and with Italy, our ties have been upgraded to special strategic partnership, in which what is there? India and Italy reaffirmed their commitment to cooperate on IMEC. So that is overall idea. The bottom line is clear. The war in Iran has underscored the need for transnational connectivity projects such as IMEC that can bypass conflict zone and strategic choke points. These two C's you have to remember, okay, in the connectivity aspect, given the present geopolitical realities, that is the choke points and conflict zones. However, for such initiative to succeed, they must overcome the geopolitical complexities of West Asia. So in here, overall, if we talk about the connectivity projects with respect to India, when we see INSTC is one, second is IMEC. INSTC can be identified as north-south connectivity, whereas IMEC can be identified to be a east-west connectivity project, both very critical of India, but both of these right now highly, highly dependent on very fragile geopolitical balance in West Asia and the ongoing conflict in West Asia. And that's where the significance of IMEC and some modifications and repurposing the project is the need of the hour. So these were two important discussions regarding today's the Hindu newspaper coverage. So everyone, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next DNP video.